dive into practical ways to feel better and to move more freely. So, hopefully, we'll get all of your questions answered. But if you think of things or you just want to chime in the chat, I've got you guys pulled up on my other screen. It probably will be easiest for me to answer everything at the end, but feel free to engage and answer questions or ask questions in the chat, and Miranda will help me out at the end. So I'm Abby Horton. I'm an assistant professor at the Capstone College of Nursing here at UA. I am a registered nurse. I'm a certified health and life coach. I have to change this again. I meant to do that, but I am a Wellbama ambassador for nursing now. I was a Wellbama ambassador for the Honors College for a number of years, where I taught for 10 years in that program. And I'm one of your wellness class educators. So if you want to reach out to me, my email is abby.horton@ua.edu. I'm always thrilled to connect with you guys, to answer questions, provide resources, or just to chat, or to get feedback. So if you have anything that you want to reach out, please feel free. So this presentation is just for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. So if you have specific questions or health concerns, you're welcome to ask general questions, but if you have specific questions or health concerns, definitely contact your healthcare provider. So that is my disclaimer for today. But our goals are really to talk about the common reasons for why we have everyday aches and pains, explore how to manage those aches and pains, and then learn specific strategies to support pain relief and to prevent the aches and pains, right? Prevention is always preferable, right? What's the adage? Prevention is worth a pound of cure. I think that's something like that. You guys know the one. But prevention's always better than trying to cure something after the fact. So we're going to poll the audience and see how many hours a day do you sit. So answer in the chat, and I'm going to get Miranda to call it out for us.
5 to 6, 4, 10, 8 to 10 with ups and downs, 5, 7. They're going fast. Okay, probably 8 to 10, 6, 8 to 10, 5 to 6, 9, 10, 5 to 7, 12, 8 to 10, 5 to 6, 8, 8 with ups and downs, 9, 10, 8, 4, 6 to 7, 8 to 10, 3, 4 to 7 with frequent standing and stretching breaks. Good job. Good job. 8 to 10, 7-ish, 5 to 7, couple of 10s, 5 to 6, and 7.
Okay, thank y'all for chiming in the chat. Yeah, and thanks, Miranda, for helping.
Absolutely.
So, according to research, the average person actually sits 9 to 10 hours, but you may not even realize that you're doing it. So if you have a desk job, which many of us at UA have, you typically sit on average 6 to 8 hours a day. You might have a commute time of 30 minutes to an hour and a half, which is pretty typical. I live fairly close by, but because of all of the traffic and construction, I have about a 20-minute commute on my way to work. And so that's me sitting at least 40 more minutes out of my day. And then for mealtime, we usually do have 1 to 2 hours of mealtime where we sit. And then if we're lying in bed or sitting on the couch, or maybe we're sitting in the bathtub soaking at night, that might be another 2 to 3 hours. And then if we have meetings or anything else, we could even add on more time. So it's suggested that we break up our sitting every 30 to 60 minutes with light movement. So that can be just doing what we call in nursing passive or active range of motion. Passive is going to be where someone actually helps you move your body, and then active is going to be where you actually move it on your own. And so there's range of motion exercises. You can Google those and you can get a ton of them. It's best to do like head to toe, right? Move your whole body. And I'm going to share a few of my favorites with you guys today. But just even 2 to 5 minutes of moving your body can really help. So stretching, walking, standing, squatting, lots and lots of ways to move your body. There are tons of desk exercises that you can do too. We sometimes call it deskercise, but exercises that you can do at your desk. My one caveat is, as I was updating the slides this morning, I've taught this class for a number of years, and I like to keep things really fresh, and I like to update things as new research comes out. And I was just in Seattle last week, and we had a lot of wellness talks, and so I was like very inspired to go ahead and update these slides for you guys. And so when I was looking at images of squats in professional clothes, right? Because we're not going to change into clothes at work to do like exercise or, athleisure every hour. So, what are things we can do while we're wearing business casual? And there was an image of a young female doing squats in a suit skirt outfit and high heels, very high heels. I don't typically wear high heels for a lot of reasons. I'm pretty clumsy, but also it's not very good for your feet and your spine. So I'm a flat shoes kind of girl. But she had that image of her squatting in those heels and in that skirt suit. And I thought, oh my goodness, I love the idea of that, but that's really not great for your balance and for your bones and all of, your muscles and tendons and everything. And so what I would say to you is if you do any of the exercises, if you do have on a heel, particularly if it's going to be like a pointed heel, it's not like a wedge where you have, a fairly flat platform, is to take those off and just do them barefoot at your desk. So we like to call these movement snacks. So every 30 to 60 minutes, I would say start with every hour, get up and move 2 to 5 minutes. And that can really make a huge difference in how you feel, especially with aches and pains. The other thing, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the good part and say if you can do that kind of movement every hour and you add in good hydration, that really helps. So I love Chick-fil-A Cokes, but this is my Chick-fil-A water. It's actually free. So if you have a habit of going and getting a snack or a treat, try to make it healthy. So instead of going and getting, a medium or a large Chick-fil-A Coke, now I go and get a large Chick-fil-A water, and I have hydration packets that I often will put in there, and then I just refill my cup every day. So I get the satisfaction of getting my styrofoam plastic cup, right? And going through the drive-through, but it's with water instead of Coke. And so the hydration and the movement are going to be two key parts of this presentation that it sounds really simple. It sounds so simple that you're not going to try it likely unless I can convince you that it really will make a difference. And it has made a huge difference for me. So just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. And it's so important that we start out with that because once you get to your 30s, I would say by 34, 35, it's really common to have high blood pressure, to have aches and pains, to start having, digestion and gut health issues, and just to start to have kind of chronic everyday aches, pains, ailments, symptoms, right? But just because it's common doesn't mean it's quote unquote normal. And so I would like for us to consider that some of the things that we're experiencing, while we all share that in common on this call, it sounds like, doesn't mean that that has to be what we accept as our norm. And so, how can we start to make changes that will really influence our health and our wellness on a daily basis? That's the question we hope to answer in part today. So, I'm 39. I am healthier today at 39 than I was 10 years ago at 29 and 30. And the reason is because I started taking little tiny habits that didn't feel like they made a lot of difference. And I started habit stacking them and changing my lifestyle so that when I got to the end of the day, I was doing healthier things more often than not, right? So I always like to tell people, I don't love math, y'all, but I like to tell people if I'm going to have to do math, I'd rather do addition than subtraction. I would rather add than have to subtract. And I think humans are wired for that. So as you're starting to do healthy habits, it's really a lot easier to add in healthy habits and kind of crowd out the bad habits than it is to take away the things that you love first. So if you love Cokes or you love Diet Cokes or something like that, or sweet tea, instead of saying, oh, I can't have my sweet tea today, just say, you know what, I'm going to have my sweet tea, but I'm also going to order a large water with that. And so the more water you drink, the less sweet tea, the less Coke, the less Diet Coke, etc., that you'll want. And that's a really good strategy for being able to kind of start to make those little tiny changes. So aches and pains are anywhere in the body, right? But the back, the neck, the shoulders, the hips, and the knees, in those major joints and in our spine, is where we typically see a lot of pain, whether you're in midlife or not. Unless you have just an isolated injury, these are the areas that you typically think of. Back pain is going to be the most common, other than headaches, that you're going to see in terms of in US adult populations. Back pain is the most prominent. And it really can impact our quality of life, our mood, our sleep, our productivity. Anytime we don't feel well, we're going to have changes in our mood, our sleep, our productivity, and just overall how we feel about our lives. So you don't have to live in pain. I think that's really important to say. I think sometimes we just accept that, oh, I'm such and such age, so this is normal, and I'm just going to have to deal with it, right? And we'll take a Tylenol, or we'll take an Advil, or something else to give us a little bit of relief and kind of numb the pain out. But we know that that's just kind of putting a Band-Aid solution on it. And hopefully, and I bet you guys are feeling this, you would rather just eliminate that altogether. So it really is the small changes that can make a big difference, but it's small changes consistently over time that's going to make the difference. So it's not just doing these things for a day or two and saying, oh, well, it didn't work. It really takes some time for your body to adjust. So it's committing to, I'm going to give myself this deadline, right? I'm going to say, for 4 weeks, for 6 weeks, I'm going to do these things and then see how I feel at the end of that, and see, okay, did what I try actually improve my quality of life? And probably it will improve it. So think of things that maybe you're having difficulty with, like typing on your your keyboard. If you're having a lot of pain and stiffness in your hands from that, or in your wrist with like carpal tunnel, start journaling that down. It doesn't have to be, a pretty journal. It could be a Word doc. It could be a notes on your phone. It could just be some scrap paper. But start writing down, okay, like, I notice by 10 o'clock every morning, my fingers are hurting on the keyboard, or my wrists are hurting, and I'm having to take a Tylenol or an Advil. So if you keep track of things like that, then you might notice by 4 weeks or 6 weeks after we've done some of the things I'm suggesting today, oh, I can make it to lunchtime, or I can make it to mid-afternoon and not feel that same pain and stiffness. Ideally, I don't feel that at all. I'm just a little tired or stiff at the end of the day. That's really the best way to track progress, because our bodies do get so accustomed to whatever our new norm is. It's really sometimes difficult to see where changes have happened. So get a checkup too, I think, is really important. So if you're having aches and pains that persist more than a few weeks, then you've tried the over-the-counter pain medications and you're not getting relief, and rest isn't helping, then always checking in with your healthcare provider is important, and I think very overlooked, because again, most people are not going to go to their healthcare provider and say, I'm just aching and hurting. Like, once you're in your 30s and 40s and beyond, most providers are probably going to say, yeah, that's pretty typical. But that doesn't mean it has to be your normal. And then scheduling that routine physical exam, your blood work, any x-rays, tests, or things that your healthcare provider deems appropriate is always a good idea. Your screenings for Wellbama are always a great place to start as well, just because you're going to get some baseline, numbers in terms of your labs. You're going to get some biometric data. You're going to be weighed. You're going to get your waist circumference, your BMI, confirm your height, because our height can change over time. Our spine can compress with aging, accidents, injuries. So confirming your height, and then just having a conversation about your lifestyle habits, right? So, and goals that you might want to set. So that's a free benefit for you. You get a lot of good data out of it. You get a free apple, a free t-shirt. You get to come and see our lovely nursing students come and coach you for most of those health screenings throughout the year. He also has some wonderful nutrition students that help. And you get a gift card. So that's an amazing bonus just for being an employee. So your happy homework for today, I'm going to give you a couple of different things, but one is to sign up for your health screening. And then once you have this information, you can really start to take the next steps toward healing and preventing aches and pains. So, possible causes. Oh my goodness, this could be so many different things, and it's all going to be by individual. So, for everyone on the call, you're going to have different factors that contribute to the aches and pains. But stress is huge. Dehydration, if we're not drinking enough water, that can really impact our mobility because I have this on another slide, but we say that motion is lotion, and the hydration that you get from water, because we're mostly comprised of water, helps with that motion. Poor sleep affects so much of our health and wellness. To me, sleep is foundational to our health and wellness because while we sleep, our bodies are healing and repairing any of the challenges that we've encountered throughout the day. So if you're not sleeping well, it's not just about the number of hours, but if you sleep 9 hours and you wake up feeling as tired or more tired than when you went to bed, you're not getting what we call restorative sleep. So addressing your sleep, cold, flu, infections, these little short-term things can also influence aches and pains, but they can linger. Anemia or vitamin deficiencies, arthritis, of course, autoimmune, which many of you mentioned. I also have a couple of autoimmune conditions, chronic illness, injury, or age-related concerns, inflammation, which goes hand in hand with stress and dehydration, a sedentary lifestyle, so sitting for more than 3 hours a day, poor posture or ergonomics. So if your desk chair isn't at the right height, if your computer screen, if you're having to strain looking up or looking down, you really want your computer to be eye level. Um, repetitive motion. So some of y'all mentioned that you do like inspections or you do repetitive motions in the chat. So doing those repeatedly without breaks or without maybe switching, maybe your right hand dominant, so you're doing a lot with your right hand and you're not doing as much with your left. Trying to switch out, how much you lift your cup. So if I'm always lifting my cup with my left hand, maybe I need to change my cup and put it on my right side, right? Same thing with, lifting heavy objects or opening doors. We tend to gravitate to one side or the other. One side of our body is usually stronger than the other. It's typically whatever hand we write with, but that's not always the case. So for me, when I was in kindergarten, I was very left hand dominant as a child. Birth to 4 or 5 years old. When I started kindergarten at 5 years old, I distinctly remember the kindergarten teacher taking the pen from my left hand and putting it in my right. And they did that continuously through first grade. Apparently, I was a very stubborn kid and I didn't make the switch. But by the end of first grade, it had become so, part of my routine that I had to write with my right hand. But what I found later through doing softball and working with a softball coach as a kid is that he had me bat right-handed, had me bat left-handed in the batting cages, and I was much stronger on my left side. Well, as an older elementary school kid, I didn't really remember that kindergarten, first grade, scenario of the teachers correcting my handwriting. And he said, you are likely a left-handed kid that was made to write right-handed because you're much stronger on your left side. And so with that in mind, as I grew older, when it was difficult for me to do something on my right side, I would switch to my left and it was much easier for me. So I still do right-handed, but if I need grip strength on something, then left is going to be better for me. And so that may be the case for you guys as well. We don't see K through 12 teachers doing that as much anymore. But if you're my age or older, that likely was your story too if you were showing left-handed dominance. And so giving yourself equal kind of strain and stress on both sides is really helpful because it also helps your neural connections in your brain. If you're only using one side of the body and not the other predominantly, then the neural connections in your brain, what wires together, fires together. So meaning that if you're only operating on that side, usually your movement's controlled on the opposite side of the body. And so, there is a lot of cognitive benefit that's been shown in research by using both sides pretty equally. That helps with repetitive motions and movements. It also helps with muscle weaknesses and imbalances. So a lot of words to tell you my story that may resonate with some of you guys. And even if not, we probably do prefer one side to the other. It's just habit, right? And so diseases are possible root causes for some of the things that I mentioned on the previous slide. So diabetes because of inflammation and high sugars, cancer also related to inflammation and high sugars, heart disease, again, related, obesity, autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia in particular. I'm pulling it out of autoimmune because it does have so much diffuse pain, meaning pain all over the body. And then arthritis, of course, is going to be a big one for the joint health. So other root causes that you can look at are immune imbalances, structural imbalances. Maybe you have some spine issues. Maybe you have some weakness for some reason, inflammatory imbalances, hormonal, toxic chemical exposure. So what's in our environment, digestive imbalances, and mitochondrial dysfunction. Okay, so y'all know I love a story if you've been with me on these calls before. Um, I have always had a lot of allergies. I've always had this chronic runny nose, which I talked about before if you've been on these calls, and just like generally have a lot of kind of aches and pains and health issues, despite doing a lot of things, quote unquote, right. So last week, I have never been out to the Pacific Northwest, but I went to a conference for work in Seattle. And y'all, even though I'm born and raised in Alabama, I've lived here my whole life, I think my body and my DNA really likes Seattle because of the temperate climate, the ocean exposure, the ionization that happens in the ocean water, the lifestyle there. It wasn't stress-free by any means. It was work, so I was still working and doing presentations and all of that. And travel is a stressor. So it wasn't that I was stress-free, but I just didn't have runny nose the whole time. I didn't have brain fog or headaches or some of the aches and pains that I had typically here at home. Within 2 hours of getting back on Monday night, my nose was running. I was having allergies. My eyes were watering. My head hurt a little bit. I was feeling that brain fog, and those aches and pains returned. And so the thing is that I want to kind of convey to you is notice when you travel, notice, when you're in a different environment, even if you're still in Tuscaloosa, notice when you feel your best, notice when you have symptoms, notice those patterns because y'all, when we have a cell phone with us all the time, and when we're traveling, that is not just a stress-free paradise. Unless you're laying on the beach in an island with no phone and no humans around, you're never stress-free, right? So I would say we discount a lot of times when we feel better because we're like, oh, we're on PTO, or oh, we're on vacation, or oh, we're doing this. But really, we're always having stress. So noting when you feel your best can give you a lot of good data about, okay, what are some things that I can replicate now? Now, I'm not going to pack up my kids in my house and move to Seattle next week, but are there some things that I can do here at home that replicate some of the benefits that you get there? Likely, yes. So that's going to be my homework for this week. And I'm encouraging you to do the same thing. Think back to when you have felt good. Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you around? What were you not doing? Who are you not around? That may give you some good ideas of where to start. So sitting is the new smoking. If you know Bern Melnick, she is a professor of nursing. She is one of the first chief wellness officers. My goal is to be Bern when I grow up. Dr. Melnick is amazing in the health and wellness space. I am an aspiring future chief wellness officer, and I heard her presentation last week. I've heard her speak many, many times, but I heard her speak at this conference, and this is the second or third time I've heard her talk about sitting is the new smoking. So I added this on the slide not to negate the challenges with smoking, but sitting really is as detrimental as smoking. So if you would think, oh, I would never smoke, well, we're doing very much the same kind of kind of damage or harm potentially if we're sitting all the time, right? And so we all have habits that don't support wellness, and it's a matter of really looking at those. And so for that reason, for this this reframe, right? I included this based on what she shared and then verifying that research. So if we sit for more than 3 hours a day, it increases our back pain, our poor circulation, and chronic health conditions like heart disease. And that's true even if you exercise. So exercise, if you exercise for the standard amount of time, that's 30 to 60 minutes a day. And that 1 hour of exercise is not going to make up for the other 23 hours that we're sleeping or sitting or not being active, right? So exercise for that 1 hour isn't enough for us to maintain health and wellness and to promote longevity or health across the lifespan, which now people are terming health span. So Carolyn McVicker and Miranda and I were having a conversation about a new book that they recommended, Outlive. I haven't read it yet, but I've read some of the summaries of the book. Also, the Blue Zones were really big fans of that in the wellness work-life space. But those are some concepts, and it really supports what we're saying here is that if you're sitting more than 3 hours, then that's problematic. We also are on social media typically more than 3 hours a day, around 7 hours a day. So, what that makes me think is that we're probably on social media at work, but also probably a lot of our evening hours. And so that even compounds the challenges really with our health because the recommendation is that we spend less than 2 hours on social media or phone use. And I'm sure you, like me, have your phone right next to you, and we're probably on it much more than 2 hours. Looking at that report that results on Sunday morning that tells us how many hours we've been on our phones can be very scary and eye opening. So, our bodies are designed to move. So, think about how you can incorporate more movement in every day. We're going to give some examples. So, standing up and reaching your arms over your head, that can be really helpful. Doing 10 arm circles. My PE coach loved arm circles. We would do the forwards, right, all the way extended. We would do the backwards, and then we would do the big arm circles, and then the big arm circles backwards. Those are really, really good to do. You also can do, with your arms fully extended, the arm pulses, where you're doing really small micro movements, and then raise your palms up to the ceiling, and you're doing arm pulses, right? There's an app called Fit On that Miranda shared with me during like the COVID years, and it is one of my absolute favorites. It's the number one app that I recommend people to use. It has wellness blog articles. It has information on food. If you join the program, it's around $30 to $40 a year, which is a great deal. So you can get nutrition programs, but you can get free food advice anyway. There's meditation on there, and then there's exercises across all of the different types of exercises, from the desk exercises you can do at your office to full on HIIT, Pilates, yoga, you name it. Most of all of that is free. I do everything with a free version. One of the things I'm going to do in 2026, because it's going to be a very busy year, is I'm budgeting that $30 or $40 to actually buy the full membership. But for the last 3 or 4 years, I've just been doing the free version, and it's amazing. You can get a really great experience without having to buy anything. You also can, pull the app up at your desk and say, okay, I have no movement. I have, no weights, no like real way to move other than just being in my little desk space. And it will give you a full workout. You can march in place for a minute or two. You can do hip hinges, or you can do squats, rolling your neck side to side, any kind of movement like that. And we recommend 2 to 5 minutes. So other solutions you can do. So fixing your posture. Now, if you know me in real life, my posture is something I'm always working on. I have had 6 abdominal surgeries, and to be honest with you, I never had great posture as a child. I have some challenges with my musculature that make it difficult for me to have a straight posture, and I tend to like kind of hunch forward or to look down. So that's difficult for me to work on my posture, but it's always kind of front of mind for me because that's where a lot of my tension in my neck and my shoulders and my back originate, right? It's probably true for a lot of us. So tips are things like having flat feet. You can get the little stools for your feet that go under your, that can help. Keeping your knees flat and like your feet on the ground and your knees 90 degrees bent can be really helpful. Having your monitor at eye level, like I mentioned, so you're not looking up, but you're not looking down. Ergonomic chairs, which are chairs that UA, at least in the School of Nursing, we have really, really great chairs, but making sure that your chair is a good fit for you, right? Some people need more firmness, some people need a softer chair, some people need a larger chair, some people need a smaller chair. It's like Goldilocks, right? The chair that's right for you. Getting lumbar support, there are different devices that you can order, like through Amazon, maybe even through your department, that will give better lumbar support. That's helpful for a lot of people. That lower to mid back area. Standing desks are really important. I had a standing desk at my work for a really long time, and now I took it home because I do a lot of work in off hours. So my standing desk is at home for me to use it when I'm doing less computer work, but doing more, things on paper that I could do at a standing height. Stacking your spine, so making sure that when you're rolling up your spine that you're letting your full spine elongate. That's something we do a lot in Pilates and yoga. Making sure you aren't squinting or straining. I recently went to the eye doctor. I was having some headaches, and I noticed I was leaning forward into my computer a lot, and I was thinking it was my posture. And my eyesight has actually improved over the years back to 2020. I was having some inflammation that was causing my eye acuity to change. And the ophthalmologist said, well, you're at the age. I was like, oh no, you're at the age where your astigmatism is actually worse and you've developed a new astigmatism. And that happens around your late 30s. So I was like, fabulous. And so I just got a text message that my glasses are available to be picked up in Birmingham. And she said, this will really help with your posture and your neck and your eye strain because you've probably been accommodating by leaning into your computer. And I said, that's exactly what I've been doing. So sometimes the thing that we think is the problem, my shoulders and back, it's actually a symptom of the fact that I was squinting at my computer. So the 20-20-20 rule for eye strain is that every 20 minutes you look up about 20 feet away, so maybe out your window or out the hallway, for 20 seconds, and that helps alleviate eye strain. Also, wearing blue light blockers can help with that to block the blue light from the screen. So moving more often, again, we said standing or stretching every 30 to 60 minutes. Having walk and talk meetings, that's one of my favorite things to do is, can this meeting be a walk and talk? And so I do that with friends, with family, with colleagues, and it's just really that you're walking and you're talking instead of sitting. I also am a huge proponent that everything does not have to be a Zoom or a Teams, right? Since COVID, we had the luxury of having things go to Teams and to Zoom and WebEx and all of those, and that they're great. They make my life so much easier in terms of a convenience factor. But also, everything doesn't need to be a meeting, right? Some things it's just a text or an email or a quick traditional phone call. So if it's something that's really quick and someone says, hey, I want to meet with you on Teams or think about it, I'm like, if I know that it's something that's just like a yes or a no or a 2-minute thing, I'm like, how about just a regular phone call? Like, just pick up the phone and call me. Or if we're in the building, just stop by my office and just pop your head in, right? A lot of times, the work that we go into saving ourselves time actually creates more work. So pacing your calls, pacing your meetings, leave 5 or 10 minutes of margin every hour if you can. Now, I'm not completely in control at all of my life or schedule. Other people are telling me when and where I need to be and what meetings I need to take. So you're not always in control of that. I want to acknowledge that. You can't control all of this, but where you can control it, make meetings, if they have to be traditional, make them 30 minutes or less. Hour-long meetings are usually not that necessary, especially if you're meeting on a regular basis. Taking stair breaks. So taking the stairs. There's research that shows if there's a sign at the bottom of the stairs near the elevator that says take the stairs, people are more likely to take the stairs than they are not. So if you have control over that, another challenge or happy homework would be to say, hey, can we just print out a sign on computer paper and say, take the stairs? Obviously, there are people that absolutely cannot do that. And so, don't pressure yourself or others to do that, because there have been seasons after surgeries and things. I've had 9 surgeries as an adult where I absolutely could not take the stairs. Wanted to, but couldn't. But as you're able, incorporate these things in. So post that computer printout of take the stairs and see if it works in your building. See if anyone notices. Simple mobility things like head rolls, shoulder circles, hip openers, right? So marching in place where you're raising your hips up and your knees up toward hip level, your head rolls, right? You'll see me doing this a lot on calls or just as I'm at my desk. That helps with your neck strain. Neck strain often causes a lot of issues in your shoulders and back. Your hips and your hamstrings can cause a lot of lower back pain. So you may be having pain in one location, but it may be because you're tense and tight in another. Um, Simple things like the shoulder rolls, right? So I always, because I tend to hunch forward, I was always told, oh, roll your shoulders back. And I would do that. But after seeing a physical therapist and personal trainer for about 18 months, they're like, don't roll them back, just push them back. So it's, instead of this motion, it's a push back motion. And that actually puts them where they need to be, right? When you're bending or lifting or any of that, make sure that you're powering through your hips and your hamstrings, because that's going to be the more powerful muscles to use. Make sure you're lifting from your lower body. I always make sure to remind my students and my kids, when you're lifting something, blow out of your mouth and suck your belly button into your spine, because that's protecting your back, your core muscles, and it's less likely to rupture or herniate things if you're blowing out. So it's you know, lift with your legs, suck your belly button into your spine, and then do a, and you should hear it, right? So after having a lot of abdominal surgeries in PT, you will still see me and you will still hear me blowing out if I have to pull on something hard, or if I have to lift on something. You're going to see me doing that because it's a protective thing. Also, when you're going to open doors or you're going to lift something, having your arm at that like 90-degree L motion and pulling in tight to your core. So not pulling a door from like way over here, but actually having it close into your body and pulling from that motion is a lot better for your body as well. So motion is lotion for your joints. Use it or lose it. If we're not using those muscles, we're losing it to atrophy. And then, like I mentioned, the fit on is really great. Core, glutes, upper back, those are going to be the pain prevention powerhouses for you. So a strong core, meaning your abdominal muscles, your back muscles, your glutes, so that's going to be your behind, and then your upper back, right? Your back and your shoulders. Recommended exercises are things like bridges, planks, rows, wall angels. When I started physical therapy and PT, I've done that many, many times throughout my life after surgeries or health events. And a lot of times we can't do these things when we start out. Like you can't do a full bridge or a full plank, or you may not even know what those words mean. So working with a certified personal trainer, with a physical therapist, depending on your needs, letting them teach you the movements, letting them coach you, and then giving them modifications so that you can do them and progress at your pace is really, really helpful. Cannot recommend that enough. Hinge Health is another great app that you can sign up for. That's a UA benefits, completely free, and they send you a box of swag that is amazing. Stretches, like gentle stretches in the morning and in the evening, can be really helpful before bed. It's also a great way to relax. Static stretches pre and post exercise. So you never want to work your body out cold. You want to go ahead and do at least a 5 or 10 minute warm up with stretches before you're going to exercise, so that particularly in this heat, if you're outside, that your body is not just completely cold and unexercised before you start your run or your weights or whatever. Focus on type areas first. So your hip flexors, your hamstrings, your neck are going to be probably where you feel the most tension. You might have pain other places, but those are the 3 places you are probably actually really tight and tense. And then things like hydration, that's the joint lubrication point. anti-inflammatory foods like omega-3s, berries, turmeric, and then your sleep posture matters, right? We're kind of in that age where if you sleep wrong on your pillow, you're really sore the next day, you have a crick in your neck. That's really, really common. Foam rolling, massage balls or massage guns, heat and ice, Epsom salts baths. So those are those magnesium flakes you can get at the local grocery store, Target, Amazon, Mana. The topical pain relievers I think can be really good because they usually have numbing agents in them. Tylenol one now, it's pretty good. There's definitely a lot of complementary alternative medicine approaches, essential oils, and then wearable posture correctors. This got um, a lot of airtime when Taylor Swift was doing her training program for the Eras tour, where she had that body posture corrector in the form of a sports bra that she used. So that became very popular because she admittedly has a lot of posture and spine issues. And so those are also a great way. Another thing that you can do once you build up muscle and ability is wear a weighted vest. So a weighted vest, there's recommendations based on your height and weight and your workout level of how many pounds to wear. A lot of people, especially women, will get the 12-pound vest that you can buy on Amazon, available anywhere though. And um, that can be helpful as you're doing like your walks or cardio to help build up some of that muscle strength and muscle resistance. So stress and tension can settle into the body. If you're doing things like breath work, mindfulness, yoga, there are a lot of apps and things that you can do. Boxed breathing is great breath work, or diaphragmatic breathing. You can do that in the Fit On app. Mindfulness in the form of meditations or brain breaks, and then yoga and Pilates are some of the best that you can do in terms of exercise other than walking and swimming. Everything doesn't need to be a hit Orange Theory workout, right? Start small. 2-minute grounding pauses. So going outside for 2 minutes, getting some sunshine, putting your feet in the grass, also a great technique. These are the wellness basics. I do a whole class on those. Sleeping well, hydrating well, striving for a healthy plate, moving your body, meditation. Sleeping is usually 7 to 9 hours, but quality sleep is important. Hydration is usually half a weight in ounces a day. A healthy plate is really eating the rainbow, more plant and protein based than meat based. And then movement and meditation, we've mentioned a lot. I'm going to go through these slides just as a resource for you guys. Miranda will pop these in the chat, and there's a whole talk that I've done that's a YouTube video where you can learn more just about these 5 wellness basics. I always tell people to start at the wellness basics, usually with hydration, because it's the easiest thing to control, right? It's harder to control what you eat because that's a lot of habit and stress relief, right? Sleep, you can say you want good sleep, but you're not a lot of times in control of the hours or the quality. Um, Mindfulness meditation can be harder for some people to do, and then movement definitely is hard. So hydration is usually the first thing to start, and it will help the aches and pains. So I mentioned turmeric, omega-6, gentle exercise, more plant-based stress reduction, but also try to limit or avoid sugar, refined carbs, eat the perimeter of the grocery store, not the interior where it's all from a plant, like a manufacturing plant, not from an actual plant outside. Reduce alcohol. Alcohol can have a huge impact on our inflammation and sugar and our pain. So not just having a hangover the next day, but just feeling like you have the flu after you drink, you probably will feel a lot better if you cut that back. Daily meat consumption can be hard on the body, especially as we age, and then processed and fried foods, the same thing. Trans fats are really not truly fats. They're human-made chemicals and preservatives, and so you want to look at your labels and not just look at the calories, but also look at that you're getting zero trans fats there. So other things, some of these are repetitive, but I just wanted you to be able to have a screenshot of all of the things I recommend: the stretching, the deep breathing, the gentle exercise, the Epsom salt baths, aromatherapy in the form of essential oils, massage therapy. We say we're going to go get a massage, but we sometimes leave the therapy off. That really is a therapy modality. Massage guns, you can get ones that are a little bit less expensive than the big name brands on Amazon. Cryotherapy, we have that in Tuscaloosa, along with infrared sauna. Those together can be really helpful. Acupuncture and acupressure. So things like emotional freedom technique, where you're tapping those meridian points, can be helpful to reset a pain response. Lots of videos and apps that you can use to do that. Chiropractic care and physical therapy. I think everyone needs a chiropractor, and I think everyone needs a physical therapist. I just don't believe that we should wait until we have an accident or injury or surgery to utilize those services. And then outdoor bathing or forest bathing. Being outside can really be a great reset. That's why we usually feel better in the summer and the spring when we're outdoors more. So natural sunlight for 5 or 10 minutes, our feet on the sand or the grass, um, and just being out in nature under canopy is really resetting for your cortisol, which is that stress hormone. Of course, continue to use your medications, your over the counters, your pain creams, your TENS units. A lot of times you'll see those at physical therapy or chiropractic care, hot and cold therapy. It's always good to have those packs and things. Kinesiology taping is great. That can be a really helpful thing. Usually physical therapists can do that. Some chiropractors will do it as well. So if you see the tape on runners, that's kinesiology taping and can help. You just want to make sure that you're not doing that long term, because that can worsen your muscle atrophy. Red light laser therapy, chiropractors will sometimes have those. Mine does. I love that as a modality. I actually have a red light that box that I use at home. It's called Loom, and it's really, really helpful. And then halo therapy, which is salt therapy, and we have a facility here in Tuscaloosa where you can do that as well. So those are some great ones to try. I did put pictures in here for y'all to see. Of course, stretching with stretch bands is really helpful for the hamstrings and back. This is the cryotherapy. Ginger tea can be really helpful for digestion and aches and pains, being out in the sun and the grass, massage. We've got the aromatherapy, sauna, acupressure mats. Prana mat is what I have, but there's some off brands on Amazon, and I love it. Within 20 minutes of laying on this acupressure mat, you really can get some good, like natural dopamine and opioid relief. Acupuncture, Epsom salts, cupping is another great one that some chiropractors offer. This gentleman is forest bathing. You've got some good turmeric here, walking, some PT with this weight, and then lemon water can be very detoxing. Freeze is a popular one among chiropractors and physical therapists for that immediate cooling relief. Of course, heating pads, gua sha, red light therapy, sunshine, laser therapy, foam rolling here. We've got the halo therapy, salt chamber. This is a depiction of the TENS unit. Rebounding can be really helpful. So if you've got a trampoline out in your yard and you're not afraid to get on it like I am, you can do that or get on one of the small rebounders. Those are really helpful. You can just kind of hop up and down on your feet or do some jumping jacks. That does the same thing. That moves the lymph system. The lymph system does not have a heart to move it like the blood does. And so movement is what moves your lymph. And if you have lymph that's stagnant in all of those lymph nodes, that can cause a lot of pain. Cold and hot therapy, the kinesiology taping. This is some chiropractic or physical therapy manipulation. This would be passive range of motion that he's doing here for her. Of course, walking on the treadmill, and then some lower back pain exercises that really are full body. They would help with most anything. So the key takeaways is get up every 30 to 60 minutes, hydrate and stretch daily, strengthen your core and your glutes with exercise, use good ergonomic support, be gentle and consistent. Consistent is the word of the day. Everything that you're going to do for everyday aches and pains is going to have to be a consistent practice. And healing isn't all or nothing. Sometimes we're all or nothing thinkers. I can be for sure. And I'm like, oh, well, this didn't work, so I'm just not going to do it. But it really is those small baby steps that add up every day consistently. And then I added this picture of this woman here because um, I tell people I have my grandmother name picked out. And when I'm a grandmother, I want to be this grandmother, right? I want to still be at her age, whatever that age is. I want to be wearing my athletic clothing. With my whiter gray hair, with a smile on my face, still able to get on the floor, still able to play with my grandkids and grandkids that I hope to have one day, and being very mobile and very active and happy and still enjoying life. And so the things that we're doing today are going to help us get there, right? And it's waking up every day and saying, okay, here's what I'm going to do for my health today. It definitely takes a lot of work. It's simple, but it's not easy. So your challenge right now is to move every hour today for the rest of today. And then see how your body feels and try it again tomorrow and then keep trying it. So we would love for you to check out all of the information we have on our website and Facebook and Instagram. Miranda and Sierra and Carolyn do an amazing job. They are wellness and work life at UA. And then we also have some blog articles that I've written in the past and from other contributors on some of the topics that are most popular from Alabama. And then here's my information. I'm going to drag over the chat and see what's been happening there.
Got a couple questions in there.
Okay.
Let's see. I think the first one was, or somebody mentioned dry needling has been a pain remover for them. And the first question was, what should you look for and ask when trying to find a chiropractor?
Yeah, so
All
chiropractors are not created equal, that's for sure. I would ask them about their credentialing. I would ask them how long they've been in practice. I would ask them, ask them questions that you have particular answers to. So, for example, if you are concerned about pain, ask them what they do to help support pain management. Ask them about their follow-up. Usually, and